Alright, let's go ahead and get started here. Where were we? Doing things. Ah yes, Bunko. At what point in time, Bunko, do you offer me better prices and more stock? I guess we don't actually... Oh, he's considered a scav? It kind of feels like Bunko should have his own rep. Hey, boo-boo. Alex. I mean, it's probably... you get to a certain point, right, where you have like 5,000 different quests and like vendors, and probably gets to be a lot, but it would be interesting to have him, like, as a, like, a little Tarkov route. Yeah, this is what I get for forwarding time. So, when we were first trying to figure out what the third criteria was to unlock Bunko before we knew multiplayer, I did progress the clock to force a water raid, and that was not it. And now I have my sin. Bunko reminding me of my sin. 16 more days before he unlocks more stuff to buy. All right, what map are we playing? Let's start with this. Let's start with a cemetery. Why not? A little sneaky cemetery. How can I say no with 3 quests right in front of me? And we don't need ammo for this. Apparently, in one of the hotfixes, they changed this so it remembers your actual lobby settings now. Very appreciated. Very, very appreciated. Opt-in so much better than opt-out. Where's my jump? Where's my jump? Should I probably bring a silencer? Should probably bring a silencer. It could be years. I only moved my clock forward about a month though. So like, or like, it wasn't even, it was like 2 weeks, I think. So like this, the time it's telling me kind of tracks with how far I moved the clock forward. I didn't move it forward years. I only moved it forward like a few weeks. I started at a few days and it wasn't happening, so I just moved it up a few weeks and it worked. To force the water raid. No, I mean, like, during, I think, December, right, I did the same thing, and, it was bad. Turd, I have mentally locked myself in to when we hit 10K on YouTube to make a Discord. So I'm, like, getting mentally prepared for that. And you're like, why do you need to mentally prepare for that? Because I do. Because you ask, or you think all of the good things that can come from such a thing, and I think of all of the bad. All in all, it'll be a fine experience, but having to deal with a few trolls around it'll be what it is. But it is in my thoughts, and I'll probably be doing the legwork soon. God, yeah, basically, Con, right? Like, it just... I'll have to figure out how to do the privacy settings and invites and all that stuff, and then, like, making sure it's moderated, but at the same time, like... Yeah, it's a lot. I just said, but automod probably. There's a lot I have to learn about Discord very quickly. Hey, Daniel. The plan is for this Friday. This Friday, we're doing another community stream. And literally anyone who wants to play with the railgun who has parts can come join me. I've seen it, like, the name is familiar. I haven't really looked into it that much. I know it's a PV extraction shooter. I heard it was kind of middling though.
Listen to that death.
Huh. It feels like the Zed's actually a bit different now. We'll have to try other characters like Masked Man, but this is way more accurate than it usually is. That's refreshing. In regards to games though, like I'm not... In regards to other games, I'm kind of... No. There hasn't really been one yet where I'm like, I really want to play this and stream it. It always comes down to me in regards to like, I do want to offer at least some value. And like, a game, like, if there's already a very established scene of much better players, it feels kind of mute to play it, but that's just me mentally. Oh no, I mean like the thing is it would probably the problem with me with getting over the Discord line is that it would be two things. It would be an auto mod to catch people who are just belligerent off the rip, and then it would be me. And maybe some raised users, but like privileged users, but like really like that's always an issue I have mentally too, is getting over that trust barrier with people. And so I would probably rely upon myself. Considering it's a small community though, I'm sure it will be fine, knock on wood. What possibly could go wrong? And I mean like, outside of one person, I don't think there's any bad blood in the community. And I think that one person, I won't name them, but I think they know they stepped out of bounds. No, Ashes of Creation is interesting, right? It's still very... The problem with a game like Ashes, right? Ashes is so fucking cool. Oh man, it's just... Well, like, I would be probably more interested once it hits perpetual beta. Or I guess or sorry, rather, not perpetual beta, the perpetual alpha. It's still in the phase where it's getting wiped very consistently. I played it like right when it hit alpha, but it's still in its very like wipe heavy cycle right now, and once it gets into a slower cycle of wipes, it's persistent alpha if you will, I'll be pretty interested in it. Granted, MMO streaming is always a weird thing, right? Yeah, it's exactly what it would be like an automod for comes. Yeah, exactly, and that's also why like the invites would hopefully not be very public. And see, essentially the reason what you're raising, Con, is essentially all of the logistical like head work I need to do to get over this kind of hump. How to get upstairs? What do you mean upstairs? Like up there?
Not enough ammo in the world for this.
And Daniel, yeah, like, you know, it's, I'm happy with this game too. The developers, it's both, like, they're doing a good job with their cadence. I'm hoping we see, like, a bigger update soon. Like, they have been a great job drip feeding us. Thanks, Pace, appreciate it. Oh, so, like, to get into here, if you come over to here, there's a door. Now, I have television on right now, so I don't want to get seen, but there is that door right there. Hey, Booter. That door will take you around to that room over there. You can also just jump up there with a pneumatic jump. Is that a camera bug? Huh. So if you come over to here, do the normal door code thing, Pet the dog. No, no petting the dog. Yeah, this. I mean, oh god. So I yeah, this is the only coded door on Cemetery, and it just this small like code to get up to here. Now I like this area. There's so many. I'm kind of glad you mentioned this because I love this area a lot. It's got a cool thing going for it. It's one that's kind of like high loot area that's kind of locked behind a door that has optional routes to get in. So first things first, right? It's cool that it's this like high loot area that has alternate paths to get to that have their like own requirements, right? Like you either have to bring a pneumatic jump and jump up here, or you have to, you know, hack the door code. And that's not, they're not big asks, but they are like a choice, right? They present a choice to you. Do you bring a jump and then get up here, or do you just do the door? And then there's some cool stuff up here too, but like what I really like in this area is one thing that we don't see, I think, explored too well in this game yet is the contrasting nature of underground areas. And so I love the vibe of this hallway. This hallway feels like peak underground, right? This like small claustrophobic hallway. You're like kind of just contained in here. If you get into combat, you're kind of fucked here and there. So like, it just feels claustrophobic. But at the same time, if we look at the innards, right, we have that giant expansive area. It's, in a way, underground areas are one of the better ways or easier ways of having highly contrasting nature areas, right? It doesn't make a lot of sense to have like, you know, outside area and giant pits. You kind of have to flow into it. The chasm works, but it's different. But like an area like this, if you cross a corner, you can suddenly just have a giant hole in regards to like pipes and stuff like that and have it feel fitting. Like if we walked through a corridor like that to the innards and then saw the giant innards pit, it would feel fine. It would give you great contrast. No, it would give you like a great level to experience the contrast between the two. But like none of the maps really have a lot of claustrophobic spaces at all, or at least claustrophobic spaces that are like meant to be explored or used as gameplay pieces. We do have the towers on Stairway, but like there's really not anything inside of them, or they're not used as a transit means, so you just don't really use them at all or experience them at all.
Looks like we're old Snake Eyes.
It's less about the units, I would say, and more just about the general atmosphere of the maps. Quite a few of the maps, while like are the way, so essentially right now, I would say a lot of the maps are kind of like snacks. And if you're not a snacker, you probably wouldn't appreciate this. When you eat the same snack consistently, it gets very boring very quickly, right? Thanks, Larry, appreciate it. And there's not many maps that start feeling like a meal. Like, for example, Stairway is a snack that feels like eats good at first, but like after like the first time you sit down and eat a snack that's Stairway Gate, you know, it starts getting stale very quickly. Yeah, Pace, the fact that we're like considered rats and we don't have vents, there's no vents around. Yeah, once we get left-handed, I guess, like there's that switching hands mode too. It's gonna be huge. Right now, taking fights from left-hand side is real bad, so. Alright, let's go and get you out of the way, stairway. Thoughts on the maps we haven't seen yet? I have no idea. We haven't seen them yet. There's like been snippets of downtown, right? In regards to pictures, but like not much. My streams on weekdays are usually like 3 to 4 hours. In that ballpark. Sometimes longer, sometimes shorter. Just depends on the context. Generally, that's usually around when they tend to end, though. That's enough ammo, I think. Alright, quest for stairway. We need to keep trying this. I need to find your Ruskins to actually kill and explore. I never actually... I don't think I've like... We've tried this quest before, but we haven't picked up, like, actually tried killing your Ruskins yet, I don't think, on the map. Alright, that's fine. We can do this, too. Yeah, they were bugged the first iteration of the map, but maybe they fixed it. And the problem too, I spaced. The problem is too, like,
It's always the same up here.
yeah, it's just, I don't know. So you can still find disabled weapons, but they're just insanely rare. Like, it's a few percentage points, right? So it takes you a long while to actually, like, get one to drop. If you do Innards defense, that, like, they are for some reason much different than out in the world, so they drop a lot higher. Almost all the guns in defense, Innards defense from Water Thieves will drop disabled. But the ones you find out here will very rarely drop. As disabled. It's hard, like... It's definitely mentally kind of a hard thing to consider too, right? I guess in a way... So... It's hard to make sense that why all of their guns would be destroyed out here outside of progression, right? I mean, if you think about, like, say, if you're trying to make a game feel scarce in regards to resources, it makes it kind of hard to think of, like, why would he just like not pick up all these guns that are destroyed, or rather guns, and just use them. I feel like
Christmas.
I mean, if the only guns we mainly found were like the stock, like Scars, P90s, and I guess the AKs, those would be kind of the ubiquitous guns. And then finding guns outside of those three would be like the actual progression. So maybe that should be taken into consideration too, right? Like you have the 3 baseline guns of each faction, and then you branch out from there as your progression. I mean, I'm in the I'm in the Discord for the game, yeah. I'm pretty pronounced. I mean, like, I post all the time in there, so like it's, yeah, I feel like that's pretty well known. I don't hide my username at all. So the soldier paste will usually spawn in one of these buildings. This is not the only one. It'll sometimes spawn there. But like, check all the skyscrapers. They're usually in one of the skyscrapers. It can be hard to find them sometimes. But they're almost always in a skyscraper. I mean, like, Here's the thing, Michael. Would they really even bother with self-destruction of their arms? It feels like a lot of extra work, considering, like, if every enemy is already mass-producing guns, right? Like, is there really any point in blowing up your guns anyway?
Just what I always wanted.
And that's when it gets around to balancing too, right? If you have like these 3 stock guns, it goes back to mods too, right? Having less mods, but if you have these 3 stock guns, like have very baseline mods too, as opposed to being like, as opposed to having the surplus rifle and the surplus shotgun, the guns that these guys mainly use would be considered the surplus guns. You would have the surplus SCAR, the surplus AK, the surplus P90, and that's kind of the main standard rifle of these factions. See, they spawn up here and get stuck. I can't loot you. Hey Pack, we're just playing around. Not really much discovering, I guess. Just shooting shit and talking. But like you make the special units and special guns like actual like progression, right? Because for the most part, you're gonna see most weapons, like most infantry will use the SCAR, most infantry will use the P90, and so on and so forth. I think this is a cultist, right? Also, how are you still alive? Oh, I know why. So, as part of the patch notes, they mentioned this. They made quest units apparently a lot tankier now when dealing with, or when fighting NPCs. People have data mined it clips, usually on the wiki. They will occasionally post HP. My unit video forever ago is still mostly up to date.
Christmas.
The railgun changes a few things. I mean, the railgun is really just more of like a flag as opposed to actual damaging, but I guess it could probably do 1 billion damage. But my old video, but also the wiki, probably still has fairly up-to-date info too. The HP hasn't changed drastically, it's more just been the guns. Yeah, like the fact that, well, I imagine it's just they don't have the code in the game to facilitate that yet, but yeah, like, picking up guns in game should almost assuredly be a thing. Now, like, does the game easily facilitate that right now? God, no. But I can definitely see that being the case. They've also mentioned too, right, how like the surplus guns exist because they don't have animations and stuff for like you to not have a set. Like they can't let you T-pose. Your character would break if you didn't have 2 guns, or I guess 2 things. I think it's more around 40-45 if I recall correctly, clip, but maybe they changed things. I think it's 40-45, somewhere around there, 45, like 40-45k. So you have to keep in mind, clip, the grenades. This is also the spawn for the soldier. The grenades, the impact is 1k, but the explosion's another 10k. So I think they're the same. I think the Merkava and the T90 have the same HP. Alright, sniper up here. Sniper is up there. Anti-tank rifle is... I mean, was it damage before is a question, and also anti-tank rifle I believe is 2k damage per shot? It's not clip. It's not accurate. It's, well, unless they fixed it, it's been 2k for the longest time, not 1k. Oh man, Ray, that would... I mean... considering, I mean, it's just stylized, right? It'd be kind of almost kind of off-putting it. They'd be inviting their own disaster if they tried to do something like that, I feel like. It also just... the game is stylized, and it feels like it should lean into those stylized systems, right? It's not trying to be grounded and realistic. It's not accurate, Clip. Yeah, I'm mainly saying this because my weapon video was like literally like 5 months ago. But quite a few of the guns, like the NWT or NTW and then the 36M, they didn't have accurate damage numbers. The 50 cal sniper rifles were like 1.1k if I recall correctly, and then the 36M was actually 2k. I mean, there could be sun and winter, Lewis. Hell, the sun against snow sucks, man. Ever get winter sunburn? My god.
I've been waiting for this.
There's the medium mechanism. Let's not fuck with that. I mean, Larry, at the same time, though, were the people who, like, you were joining before actually trying to play multiplayer, though, or just accidentally had it on? And so you were joining them, and they were out of the politeness of their heart just not kicking you. When they were in reality, if they wanted to play multiplayer, would make their lobby public. I have been to the UK, Lewis. It's been a very long time, but I have been to the UK twice. Right, actually, let me rephrase. I've been to Great Britain once, and I've been to Ireland once. I'll take one. Yeah, it's more of just like... It kind of goes in this point too, Larry, where... I definitely think the question needs to be asked. Is this a co-op game with optional single player? Or single player with optional co-op? Because I would consider the mechanics of how you develop your game very different depending on the context of that. It's kind of hard to skirt this middle line between the two. Let's actually go over Mass Man. I want to see if they fixed his pinging in third person. So Massman and Bagman have kind of iffy cameras, or at least they did. I want to see if they're fixed or not. But the Zed seem to be maybe a little bit better now, so. Actually, I mean, I wouldn't assume their actual viewpoint on it based on the lobby setting, right? I wouldn't assume intent based solely off of that. Yeah, this is always at 1,000 damage. It's been wrong for the longest time too. Yeah, this was always like 1.1k, and then this was always like 2k. Oh, I'm sure it does blood. I mean, like, well, The internet as we know it, no, but like networks, 100%. Of course there'd still be networks. They would be more local based as opposed to like global, but there'd definitely be networks around. And maybe there even is like a global network or global, like, or rather, it could be very cyberpunky in regards to like, you can only really use smaller networks because of either like malicious firewalls and stuff like that. Oh, not you. Kind of like the Great Firewall in Cyberpunk. So like maybe local networks, maybe global networks, but with firewalls in between. But like they've been so long kept up at this point that they're kind of they exist, but they're forgotten. They could kind of do net running in this game if they really wanted to. Considering that there's this implication that there's a ton of stuff underground, like, it's reason to believe that these old lines still exist, just kind of forgotten. I mean, but like, considering the water video, right, with the water change, there's your Ruskin TikTok. I mean, yeah, those are servers, right? So like, it's a local network, right? So there's assuredly still like networked computers. It just depends on the scale of these network computers, right? Of how far they go out. Bring a jump too. Yeah, I mean, there would almost assuredly not be a global internet. Like, there could still be the connections in place for a global internet, but like, I would very much consider that there'd be like firewalls you would have to work through, right? Endless firewalls. And like, the point is the world is disconnected too. Incoming cows. No, Masked Man's still off, okay. So like when we hit Z with Masked Man, because he has like a kind of a weird ADS issue, his pinging is off. Yeah, Michael, that's probably like the best way, right? He's like, yeah, like heaps of like fractured branches of intranet. And like, there's probably the case, right, where there's plenty of like instances of servers and, you know, computers being used to just all local based, right? And considering they have AIs too, right? It's not that surprising. Consider like they have powerful computers around that are small. This is just the 36M. So it's not really, it's not a scope you can put onto your gun, it's just the 36M. It's integrated. Okay, there's no chopper, right? Yeah, no chopper. Three, 4, 5. Okay, that's our first 10. So that should be 20K right there. So that puts us at around like, yeah, like 38K. 38, 40K, somewhere around there. So it took us 19 shots to kill T90. And we don't know if like, we haven't I haven't looked at Little Papa's, like, basically rips of the game since this patch, so maybe things have changed. There was apparently some very old code, or not, unused code for weak spots or like different damage, or different damage weights for medium mechs. So there could always be like maybe small instances of like weighted damage numbers for certain vehicles, like hitting them in an X, Y, or Z spot, causing increased damage. It's so slow. This fucking poor cow, bab. Yeah, toothpaste for sure. I mean, overall, like, out of all the skins, like, Scab Girl the most. The other two, I think, have issues with the rig. They're not bad, but, like, the skins are cool, just they don't mesh with the rig colors and palette at all. At least for me personally. Okay, all I'm saying this, guys, so would you, okay, everyone, would you consider God to be unkillable? For you to worship God, you would consider it to be divine, right? And by it being divine, it would not be, it would be immortal.
Eyes on us. Spread out.
No, Blood. Rat King dies all the time. A very weak god. What if I instead offered you a different god? A god that is actually in the heavens and cannot die. Is immortal. Introducing Cow. All I'm saying is Rat King dies all the time. Cow never dies. Rat King is based upon the ground, not very deity-like. The cows fly, very deity-like. I mean, we don't necessarily know, Sid, what Rat King is. The whole fungal thing was a theory, right? An idea that was brought on by some guy masquerading as a Fun Dog affiliate. It could be true. Who's to say it's not true? But definitely take an agnostic approach to it, right? Where it's just we have no fucking idea what's up with Rat King right now. All we know, it's a Scav affiliated media mech. Yeah, I'm not really gonna go through the process 3 bones of installing mods. Some people do, and that's perfectly fine. I have no problem with that. I'm not gonna get down the rabbit hole of installing mods yet. I'd much rather just kind of have the experience that everyone by default has and go from there. I mean, there's bigger mechs for sure, Daniel. We don't have them in game yet, but there's bigger mechs for sure. I don't, so, no, not really, Clip. The only really mods that exist right now, Clip, are aesthetics, like asset rips or removals. There's not really modding tools in the game right now. It's really just kind of limited to the ability to easily drop files in or remove them. Editing those files, especially the code of the game, is not easy. Or basically borderline impossible without mod tools. Oh no, Toothpaste, it's always fun with the dog. The dog usually doesn't murder you right off the rip too, so if it like sees you, it will just kind of do a little weird little running around before it murders you.
Fit for us.
Yeah, it's basically skins, right? The vast majority are just cosmetics, or they're, let me rephrase, they are all cosmetics. Like the no rig is basically, I think, I'm not sure exactly how they did no rig. I need to look into it, but I'm sure no rig is basically just removing the actual rig, or rather, replacing the rigs with like literally an invisible rig. They existed. They added some new foot sound effects for the cyborgs, and they feel a bit too heavy. It sounds like, I'm sure you guys have heard it too, right? If you played the patch, the cyborgs now have like a very distinct walking sound or running sound. It's very deep and aggressive, like they're very heavy. And I mean, it doesn't mentally match up to how they should sound to me, but that might just be because I'm so used to how they sounded before. Yeah, like I'm saying, like Daniel, they kind of like, it's probably right in the sense that they are heavy, but like there is still this mental issue, right, of how you see things and how you think they sound and how they actually sound. For me, it feels like it's a definite miss, but like, eh. It's weird, right? Because you want to have them like be, you need to have them be light enough to be carried in mass by bombers, but also heavy enough that they're not just fragile. Yeah, we don't know exactly the extent of how much Africa is under Eurusca's umbrella, but yeah, North Africa, from like Lotus's Tale, right, we know Algeria, and that's really about it. So we can assume like a decent bands of North Africa are under Eurusca. This Friday, Y7. This Friday. I mean, on that note too, right, I know it's just for testing right now, but conceptually, once again, just for testing, they want, like, naturally they want you to be able to use it so you can test it and give them feedback. So, like, the ability to create this easily, right, is its own little loop. But on that note, keeping that in mind, it does feel kind of, it's weird how just like this guy, this little bunko guy, can provide us. It's weird to see scavengers have better tech than the other factions right now. It feels like it should be the other way around, right? Where we should have lesser tech than the factions. The fact that we're getting a railgun to like, also railgun, to annihilate these larger creatures, and the other factions are just like, we're shit out of luck. I mean, he's not a normal scavenger, but it just, it feels just, it's just another piece of dissonance to the pile. Just throw it in with the rest. I mean, the only part we actually need to use Kane for to get the railgun is one, the power source, right? And it might point to them having that in the future. No. It's just, I could go on for a very long time explaining my mental mishaps with it. But the TLDR of it, right, in sense of, it just feels like another piece of things not lining up logically. Like, are we these survivors that are, like, trying to get day to day, or are we mercenaries with powerful tools and we're just, like, soldiers for hire? And if that answer is true, it's not an issue, it's just nice to know that answer. If they pivot the game into the mercenary game, that's fine. It's their game. But, like, marketing material. This game. Different. Well, Ludroth, I mean, most of the things you can get the codexes for, right? But, like, if you want the codexes for a few of them, you do have to lean that way. And perhaps we might see special, like... Perhaps we might see NPCs with the railgun in the future, for example, killing special units like that. We'll just have to see. Let's just do a scrapyard. Some murdering. They've kind of been... So, Daniel, if you've been playing since launch, they have been basically doing that. Every single patch since launch has then been upping the damage. Oh, hey, night shift.
No heroes tonight.
I think the lethality of units right now is very good. If you are in front of a firing squad and you're not in cover, you die. Well, I mean, like, it's not really about the concept, Michael. Because naturally, you can see things deployed in the field and understand how they're deployed, right? And, like have inspiration. People ripping off other countries or other factions' guns has been a constant thing, right? Of like, oh, that's a really effective gun, let's copy it. Or really effective weapon, let's copy it, right? That's not an issue with that. It's more of going from that and having the knowledge to actually reconstruct it.
Additional units approaching.
And those parts being readily available, right? At no point during the quest line did it feel hard to acquire the parts. Was it tedious to acquire the parts? Yes. But was it hard to acquire the parts? Not really. And it's one thing too where we didn't construct like a scav railgun or scav tech railgun where it's like clearly if the aesthetic of the railgun right now is like the model of the railgun off the factory floor for Eurasia, like perhaps a more jerry-rigged version of that for us scavengers. Yeah, I mean, on a whole, while the whole overall narrative of Bunko's questline was cool, if you look at the individual parts, they are kind of weak. They do a cool thing where they changed how the map plays a little bit by how they have spawns there, but... Yeah, I've never been a fan of Rust. It's less about, like, its gameplay or aesthetics and just the fact of, it requires your full attention. And anything less than that will punish you. Yeah, I mean, like, just making it feel more like, hey, we jerry-rigged something together as opposed to we made something that would traditionally be produced on the factory floor would help a lot.
Nothing to be done. They must be cut.
And it would be interesting too, right? As opposed to like acquiring parts that are, you know, clearly Eurasian from the factory, like, or like salvaged parts, more of just like collecting scav items that might work in their place. And I will say on a whole too, it, as a first test, it's fine, right? Of just like, you know, introducing a loop to kill those units is perfectly fine. I was under more of the impression of those bosses being more mechanics as opposed to just a point and click adventure after you acquire a certain gun. So like, as opposed to just getting super deadly gun, aka railgun, and killing Mother Courage, it's more of using something to like essentially start the boss fight of Mother Courage, right? So say, for example, Mother Courage has like some exterior shell or armor that's like very, very strong, right? And so the first step is getting a gun that actually essentially lets you start damaging her. And after that point, it's more about weak points. And the key thing would be, think of it this way. If you have weak points on Mother Courage, and if they're not forward facing, it by default makes soloing her almost nigh impossible, right? Which should be by design. That should be like kind of rewarding group play in the sense of, you can try and do this solo, we're not going to stop you, but it's going to be hard.
It's approaching.
But like, and naturally this is my assumption, right, just from the way they worded it, but like, it felt like we're gonna have like, not like fully fledged boss mechanics, but just something a bit more intensive than just point and click. For sure, Lewis, but like, I think, because right now, I will say, killing the medium mechs, I kind of saw it in the Discord too, right, where people are just, because there's now the carrot in place for killing medium mechs, like, people are just speed running killing medium mechs, which is cool, right? Like, they now have a reward for engaging those units, but now, because it's a massive carrot, it's like, why do anything else? Because
It pays to be
the risk versus reward paradigm's kind of out of whack, right? There is the novelty of like, you know, killing medium mechs for players who didn't want to do it before, but because there's now the carrot in place, people are realizing how easy killing medium mechs actually is. I mean, it was this easy before. There was just never a reason to do it, so people didn't bother, right? And because they never bothered, they never knew their belief for medium mechs were actually hard. For sure, Lewis. Like, that's why I kind of like started with the whole spiel about, in the sense of, we're probably only seeing part of the picture. But like, on that note too, Lewis, I've been saying that for a long time now, and so I would like to see the instances of a more complete picture. I would like to see my benefit of the doubt validated, right? With a more complete system. Yeah, and Line, the problem with that in the sense of it requires, if you didn't want to do it through like unfair ways, it requires like actually good AI. To be quite blunt about it, right? How is a medium mech going to solve the issue of a scav basically shoulder peeking it and just shooting with a grenade launcher? So let's go over to like let's show an example, right? Let's go over to Bagman and let's go run Elephant. It's partially the pathing, but it's also just like how it responds to getting shot at and the tools it has, right? And it's also on the map too, right? There's a lot. Yeah, Michael, for sure. There's always this like kind of issue too, right? Is this supposed to have very functional boss fights? I mean, it could, right? In a way. Just depends on where they want to go with it. But like my always thought was like weak points, right? Just for damaging it. So like in a way a boss fight, but it was more just a big, you know, you had to be specific on where you shoot bosses. Alright, Europa. Hey, Grillo. Hey, buddy. Oh, where did this come from? All I'm saying, I don't think gods would have codexes. We don't have a cow codex, right? We only have Rat King codex. Come on, get over the hump. There we go. I probably want to attack him too. It can be really hard finding where the components fall at. Oh, they hotfixed grenades out of the game, Law. Like, it was clearly not intended to be in the game yet. Dylan, that's a cool thing too, right? Did we get night?
Always looks good.
Really?
It always looks the
That'd be cool too, right? Like weapons that are like less about being destructive, but more in the sense of they're utility weapons that require a certain user to use them to be like active, right? Like kind of on that note, an EMP gun that maybe, for example, like say for example, right, you use that EMP gun and you kind of stun the grabber, and because you stun the grabber, something opens up on it as a weak spot you can actually shoot. But because you're EMPing the grabber, you can't naturally shoot it yourself. So in a way, it kind of rewards co-op, or kind of forces co-op.
You know,
Leave me alone.
stick together.
I came here for exo hunting, and then you're doing this to me. Dismantled over a fucking cyborg. I mean, I'm fine. I'm bag mad. I got plenty of med kits, so it's not the end of the world. Yeah, Michael, let's get into like nuanced areas though of AI.
Let's stay alive.
And without the ability to toggle flashlights on your gun, which yeah. What do you mean by change, Ludroth? I mean, all of the grabbers are like that. It just has to deal with the pathing of through the trench line. My god. My deity. The heavens above. I mean, Sewer Dog pre-rework was still a joke when you had 2k HP characters. I mean, I mean, if we weren't playing a character with above 2k HP, we would die right there too, Ludroth. It just depends on, like, are you playing a character that does not care about the dog? BT. Media mechs are kind of a meme. I can probably do this on here. Yeah, the arbitrary funny point where, something doesn't matter anymore. Alright. So case in point, I use this because it has a little bit of extra cover. That came on. Alright. So it's so, they're so loud now. Gun just fell over here. Like, and it partially has to do with this, right? Their velocity needs to just, I don't understand. Okay, here's the thing. I understand why the velocity of these things were so slow early on because of the bug. But if you're gonna have mechs be in this kind of setting, right? I need the developers to understand this. There needs to be a different key press for mantling as opposed to jumping. The amount of times I die because I mantle when I want to jump is insane. And sometimes it's on me for doing it near a railway, but me mantling over a crawler into a brawler's face because I'm trying to jump and not mantle is insane. I should not have to be worried constantly about hitting spacebar when I want to jump because I might mantle over something and die. And you know me, you guys know me at this point, right? I'm very usually pretty, like, lax on saying games need to have this. But just like private lobbies, that is something that just should be the case. It is partially why people critique the movement of this game so aggressively. Because stuff like that just seems inexcusable. The easiest way to frustrate a player is to have them do it's to basically remove their agency, right? When they feel like they lose agency in some factor, it's going to make them frustrated. And when it feels like I'm trying to do something, and it's different too. If you lay the laws of the movement in the game, it's one thing, and the player needs to realize that and understand that. But that's not the case in this scenario. It's just a factor of, I know I should be able to do this within the confines of the movement in the game, but some quirks of the movement being set up right prevents me from doing that. All right, run it back, run it back. Whatever, we're not spawning sewers this time. There's two dogs. There's two dogs. There's one in the doghouse. Hold on. There's one in the doghouse, and then there's one. Oh, all right. Well, there's one in the doghouse, and then one in the open. There's two dogs in the innards.
You know the drill.
But like, when I jump right here, right, I am just jumping. If I get next to any terrain, it will usually try and make me mantle instead, right? And it'll even do the mantling when it's like not going to work too, right? there's plenty of instances where you try and mantle and it will just fail. There's actually a really big spot I'll show you guys too, where if a new player ever comes here and tries to use this spot, I could imagine the endless frustration they feel, right? In a way, it's like their mantle checking. Like, their mantle is not elevating you to the point it needs to in order to get you over the terrain, right? I hate stagger. How in the hell do they do that much damage that quickly? My god. They get headshot or something? I mean, if you have a group in a raw gun. Oh, it might have been a sniper. Yeah, that's fair. There can be a sniper deployed there. Because they don't usually chunk that hard. I don't have the quest for gold brick though. But there are Euroscan snipers around that do peg you for like 1.1k. Considering we got insta staggered too, that probably lines up pretty well. No, getting shot with an RPK, it does stagger you pretty quickly, but not that quick. That had to be a sniper. They don't always show the red line though. I mean, if they're going to chunk that much, Lewis, at the same time, then the AI needs to be tuned down right now, right? So, for example, if they're going to hit you that hard, two things need to change, right? One is their reaction time. Having them suddenly go to like 180, shooting you in the face immediately with 100% accuracy is off-putting, right? And two, the spread on their bullets, right? I mean, you're certainly free to share your opinions, Andrew. I'm not gonna say no to that. Like, it's perfectly fine to make the guns feel lethal. It's not okay for the grunt infantry to be, like, gods. Should their guns hurt and kill you? Absolutely. Should they be, like, 360 no scope, like insta headshot snipers? Also no. Like, for example, in that instance too, right? They just like collectively as a hive mind turned around and just firing squatted us on an instant or on dime. And we were in great cover, but we were in partial cover. We are a big boy as being Bagman. Take 3. Third time's the charm. I mean, Ludroth, in regards to getting one shot, not really. The problem with snipers, right, is they stagger you immediately, which is its own little dilemma. All right. We're good here, we're good here. Got our meds, gonna drills. Drills. Take 3. I mean, but Andrew, like, they get reinforcements from outside.
Game faces, people.
I mean, that kind of ties to the issue too, Ludroth, in regards to, like, if you're unfamiliar with sniping in the game, if you try shooting things from across the map, they have like basically perfect accuracy. So like for example, if you shoot like, you know, anyone from across the map, we can go to Scorched Enclave and show this off too, right? I mean, but Andrew, at the same time, the bombers with cyborgs coming from Eurasia. Are you saying the bombers are based in Los Angeles too? Okay, there's the stagger. I mean, it could have just been they lit us up too. We got staggered pretty decently, pretty quickly there after just them shooting us. Well, the bombers are solar powered, right? That's why they're damaged, because they're flying for fucking ever. I mean, they've up damaged a lot, Ludroth. Why can't they fix grenades? Oh no. Hold on, I gotta... I am not allowed to switch guns when reloading. Alright, anyway. And they do have sniper accuracy, Ludroth, though. They, like, all of the soldiers in this game do not miss.
Keep cool. Carry on.
I already have HKs? All I did was kill like 20 guys. Why do they care? Why do I have HKs already? Why do you care? No, this is the whole thing with it doesn't clash very well with the palette of the container palette, and the skin don't match very well. So they can make more of them, Ben? They need more lithium. Okay, so this will kind of, this is an example of this, right? But this will kind of highlight one of the issues in the game, where the game will show you that this is mantleable, right? So you keep trying to do it, but at no point does the game actually move you in such a way where you can actually mantle this. And so, if a new player experiences this right, immediately movement bad. Like, the game shows me I should be able to do something, but the game is not set up properly where I can do it. And like, it makes you feel like you probably can do it, right? But like, no. Like the actual like jumping up or mantling in this game is not set up in a very good way to help with movement. Yeah, but like, Lewis, they can be set up on the west coast of the United States, but do they actually have... Remember, all of the fabricators and factories are going to be pre-war, right? They can build new ones, but why would you build new ones in like a contested war zone like this? Not behind... Like, you don't build your factories on the front lines. You build them deep within your heartland so you can keep them safe. There's a reason why during World War II the Soviets had all of their factories past the Urals. or had a lot of their factories pass the arrows, right? Making sure they're hardened against, you know, attacks from air. I mean, this is the RTS versus history. Yeah, I mean, that's what, in Ludra, that's literally what Mother Courages are, right? They are, Mother Courages are forward reclamation units.
We're on the clock, people. Kill 'em quick.
Yeah, there's maintenance facilities and logistical depots, right? Like, that's not a factory, though. They are not producing, like, they are not taking in raw materials and then making new units. Now, they are repairing units, they are upkeeping units, but they're not literally, like, making units from raw materials. Also, we're really due for an HK rework, by the way. Like, so due for an HK rework. So due. That was like, when they were first talking about dynamic respawns, that was like the first thing, right? Was like, yeah, dynamic respawns with HKs.
We're on the clock, people. Kill 'em.
I mean, the dog's are more okay because the dog doesn't do this kind of really annoying thing where it just respawns around a corner whenever you kill it. Like, I don't mind HKs aggroing everything nearby to you, but like them respawning immediately after you kill them and doing this, yeah. Like, where are you coming from? Are you just like hiding in a drawer around here somewhere and you get called out? Like, it'd be one thing, for example, if like, let's say we summoned HKs by doing something and we saw like drop pods come in. It wouldn't be the case, but just for example, right? I could maybe understand where they're coming from there. I just killed you a minute ago. I've kind of, Lewis... Are we good? One second, let me fucking clear this out real quickly, then we'll talk a bit more. Thankfully, thank you, base cyborgs. Fucking HKs, man. We good? Nope, already respawned. Alright, let's get back to our little perch here. Hello, you. I mean, you say that, but I'm currently murdering a shit ton of things. Alright, you're dead. You're not even aggro, why are you shooting me? Am I on meds? No, we're good. Alright, we're drilling. I might be low on meds though. Either that or just my sound cut off. Oh shit, I'm out of ammo. Oh my god, okay. So, going to HKs, right? I've kind of gotten over the whole... I still do it occasionally because it's fun. I've kind of gotten over the whole concept of, like, giving examples of what they can do. I'd rather just see them do something. I could go endlessly on about different systems to utilize in regards... Thanks, Vinny. I could go on endlessly about systems they could do in regards to HKs or maps or so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, it's their game. They have to come up with solutions. I'm okay with doing the pain points. Like, for example, the pain point of HKs is that they're just obnoxious. They don't feel... To go from, like... The way, the biggest thing about HKs is how they respawn and the lack of cooldown. If there was like an escalation too, like say for example EODs being like, you know, the EOD HK to like more sophisticated HKs after that, and like, you know, you have to leave, you only have so much time, that's certainly one thing. But by and of themselves, the HKs aren't a threat, they're just a fly, a really annoying fly that just never goes away. So it doesn't do this thing where it tells you kind of have to leave, like a system in regards to like escalating HKs where you can only push it along so long. It's more of, hey, you now just have to deal with this fly constantly. It doesn't feel threatening, it feels annoying, but the annoying will eventually kill you. Well, Michael, the problem is, right, in regards to that, there's no progression right now that they could possibly have that stays within a faction. They do, Informatic. That is the key issue, right, is they will aggro things around them. And because they have, like, no cooldown on when they respawn after you kill them, you'll kill them, and then, like, a minute later, if that, they'll come back, respawn or aggro everything around you, too. And on a certain note, too, it's also about their omniscience. Like, how and why do they always know where you are? And you can say TAC cam, too, right? But there's always a difference between, like... there is the rule of cool, there's also the rule of fun. Just because something, like, I guess makes sense. For example, right, people bring up the idea or concept of suicide bombers in this game all of the time. Like, you know, strapping a bomb to a cyborg and having it run around blowing things up. Would that probably happen in a setting like this? I would think absolutely. But do you understand how miserable that would be? There would be almost no way of making that a fun experience. Maybe for masochists? Like absolute masochists? But is this a game for masochists? I don't think so. It's people who want the vibe of like survival, but like, do you really want to be punished that hard by suicide bombers? It's so objectively hard to figure out the right way of balancing a unit like that. Blood in shooter games, yeah, like Left 4 Dead, yeah, where the core premise is around an arcadey shooter game. Not this kind of game where it's supposed to be like... If you put the boomer in this game, it would feel awful with all the corn, like... When you have a unit like that, Blood, you have to start at the beginning, right? Considering a unit like that. Though, like, explosive zombies, when you're doing a game, you have to consider the levels, where you place them, how often they show up. Like, imagine if if explosive zombies existed, right? And you were in a trench line. Imagine just crossing a corner and getting blown up. Just because it sounds cool doesn't mean it'd be fun. It would be frustrating for, I think, most people. Now, are there people who would enjoy that experience? Absolutely. People, like, Helldivers 1 had a decent player base, and that game was just pure masochism, right? Well, Michael, on that point, you are now considering that how you would realistically deploy explosive zombies does not work, and now you're leaning into how do you gamify it. Like, by you admitting that the fact that you need to have a creeper style aggro system, you already kind of pointed to the fact that, like, how you would deploy explosive zombies in a setting like this, you would need to, like, start gamifying it to make it work. And they wouldn't actually, like, that's not how they would function in a setting like this, you know, if it was theoretical, right? Why would you arbitrarily have timers on your suicide cyborgs? Third time's the charm, right? I actually blew through all my ammo last time, but I think the biggest thing is just not getting HKs that early. It seems kind of crazy that we killed, like, maybe, like, what, 15, 20 guys and had HKs? We didn't loot it all, too. And I will say, too, there is this degree of obfuscation with the system also of HKs. No, Lujoth, you're good. Do you have everything? I need drills. So I'll use an example, right? Now, like, by and of itself, it's not that big of a deal. But for example, I've been playing a little bit of PoE 2, right? And in the latter parts of PoE 2 and the more endgamey parts, there are a few bosses that do some move sets that essentially you would need to, like, I don't generally rely on guides. I rarely like to go into a boss fight knowing all the mechanics. I like figuring them out as we go. There is no effing way I would have ever figured out, and like, it would have taken me probably days to figuring out how the fuck you're supposed to engage in this boss's mechanics. And, like, I watched the video on it, and I was like, okay, that makes sense, but, like, how would, like, a normal player ever fucking get that without just, like, sitting for days and, like, thinking of it? So, essentially, it's this, right? So, this boss, for those who play PoE 2, I'm talking about the Arbiter of Ash. And the Arbiter of Ash has a lot of issues. But, essentially, during Arbiter of Ash's Phase 1, he puts a circle on the ground that you need to get inside to survive. And during the Phase 1 also, there's a separate attack with the laser beam, where if you stand in the laser beam, you die. So you have to get out of the laser beam, get out of the circle, but they're separate effects, they don't happen at the same time. And, like, it's all happening very quick too. This boss fight's very quick. You don't get a lot of time to think on this boss. All of his things happen pretty quickly, and they're chained together to put you under duress. Now, in his Phase 2, he does that same moveset, but he does them at the same time. So he'll put a circle on the ground you have to get into, but then he'll also do the laser beam over that circle. And you're just kind of confused during this entire time, because it doesn't make it clear that that's actually a mechanic going on. It feels like almost glitchy, right? Like, is this supposed to be happening at the exact same time? And when you actually watch the tutorial video on it, it actually is supposed to be happening that way. Like, there's this very nuanced sort of way you're supposed to approach it, where it would have taken me probably days to figure that out in the sense of, oh, I'm supposed to stand outside the circle, then roll into the laser at the very end of the laser to eat a little bit of damage, but survive, and then roll back out. It's just, it is such a convoluted cycle that they do such a poor job of informing the player of. It like feels like it would have taken me literally days of playing that boss fight to figure it out. And not to mention that too, that they had other issues too, for example, where back in the original PoE 2, back in the first launch of it, why are you shooting me? Why? Why did you just start? Why do I have a pea shooter? It feels like we're operating with different guns. Why did they, like, why is that bug still in the case? Like, or, there is still that, we're just having a rough time today, man. There is still that bug where Bombers and Serious Sam are to the point, yeah, we're like, the Suicide Bombers in Serious Sam are definitely one of those units where they use it enough, they just do not care about level design. You can go like the entire playthrough of Sonatica without running into floaters. Granted, you kind of need to know where they are first, but like you can generally avoid them the entire way. I'm out of meds, aren't I? Oh yeah. Why are we still in an IRL timer game? Why? No, but just, yeah, the aggro in this game sometimes gets me, man. The weird quirk where they will occasionally shoot you without being aggroed still exists also. Why does it still exist? Ludroth, I don't. I would ask you if I wanted to. We need to go farm them. And what a better map to do it than this map? And like, this is a pain point too of like the IRL timer. It's fine. But why? It just, why IRL timers?
I hate the surface.
We'll just go, we're gonna go do what we should be doing here, is going to farm them. Like, this is the point of a game like this, right? Is, I need a resource. Let me go get that resource. I mean, Michael, at the same point though, why are they bothering have it in the first place? Well, the IRL timer being related to like, what I mean by IRL timer flip, I mean a timer that's basically based outside of the game and runs outside of the game running. If it was a timer within the game, I'd still have issues with it.
I think they spotted us.
Essentially, I just don't see the point in a game like this to have the metrics of things passing or resetting or just doing based on a clock. That is a constant countdown.
This is it. We decide what happens next.
And the biggest thing is too, right, Michael, on your point, if it feels like such a cheap thing if that was the only consideration, right? Like, it definitely feels like no concept was given to the scope of the game in that regard if that was the case. I'm not saying that's the case though, because it feels almost ludicrous if that was the case.
I think they spotted us. That's it for us.
Alright, we're good. I don't want to assume things too, Larry, but like, I kind of do feel like it's on. I would lean much more toward Michael's concept than anything else. Flip, what I'm getting at, right, is that the vendor resets are based on an IRL timer, and so what the game is telling me to go do is telling me to, oh, I need to go wait for vendors to reset, so I should go fuck off for an hour. Out of game. That's essentially what I'm getting at. I'm basically at a point now where the game is essentially saying that, oh, because, you know, you've had a few bad runs now and you're no longer can go buy meds from a vendor, go wait an hour out of game. It's not like, you know, wait a week in game or, you know, wait for a few days to pass in game. It's, oh, just go walk away from your computer and do something else for an hour. It's the same thing with the railgun, for example, where the railgun craft is 12 hours over the entire thing, right? It's saying that, oh, hey, you're crafting the railgun, go walk away for 12 hours. Come back tomorrow. That's my point, Flip. And like, those serve a purpose, and like, you know, I'm just getting fucking. Why is there an exo this far deep too? What the hell? On that note, like, Flip, if you understand where the railgun timer is absurd, that's essentially the same thing with the traders, right? The traders have hour-long resets that are based in the game too, right? Or out of the game too. So like, everything's. For an offline game, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for an IRL timer to be the basis on how time passes or how things move. For example, and it's also this kind of paradigm too, right? Where it could be that though, right? But like at the same time, there's also these conflicting things too, right? Where we just have arbitrary night shifts that say on 1.2, right? So you have, for those unfamiliar, there's variants.
Whittle them down and we can break out.
Can I just have a moment of fucking peace, please? All right, anyway. On that same note, the game doesn't respect that own timer too, right? Like, if I come back and play at nighttime, why is it all day shifts? But at the same time, I'm having to wait hours for resets? It's just this... There's a lot of inconsistencies, right? Change, it's not really about the railgun. It just, like, the railgun is like an easy case to point at, but it's not really about the railgun. Oh, 100%, yeah. Still there. Every gun still has it. Still a shift to the left. Like, the railgun's an easy, like, point and pick at, in regards to this, but like it's more endemic than that. Well, Flip, it's kind of... So, I've said this before, I don't need a roadmap, Flip. What I want is, I don't want like a mechanical roadmap. I don't want a content roadmap. I want almost like a vibe roadmap, right? What are they... What is the actual vibe they are going for? And that would kind of inform my perspective a lot more in regards to like how to critique the content, right? Because naturally, like, they don't want to be, you know, beholden to a content roadmap, right? Essentially, right, but it's not necessarily artistic, it's more just like gameplay. Like, where do they want the game to, what do they want the game to feel like when it's finished, right? What's the experience they're aiming for? On a meta level and also in a gameplay level, right? It at a certain level feels like there's not considerations taking place for like in a way it feels like a kit bash, but it's because they're kit bashing over a long period of time, it's not meshing that well. It kind of already is, Lewis. It kind of already is. And I want to say it's not, it only is having one right now because it doesn't feel like, he said, I don't need a roadmap, just tell me what you're trying to do. I mean, kind of like almost Lewis off the rip, right? It had that crisis off the rip. Like like say what you will, but the immediate memes of that guy versus not that guy kind of points you heavily in sort of that direction already, right? Like if at one time, like at a certain level, you can be like, haha, meme funny in regards to you're not that guy, and then that guy memes, right? But like that does point to an immediate crisis within the game, right? The direction of the game. All the three core people behind Fundog, yes, are artists. They are not the only people in Fundog. There are about 30, 40 people. Granted, not naturally all developers, all different under subjects. Yes, it's an indie game, but Flip, I do give the benefit of the doubt already. I am being very critical right now because I am a little bit frustrated by getting bullshitted multiple times in a row today. It has been a frustrating game today. A very frustrating game. Mainly because HKs. But like, it, on a certain level, yes, they all, like, it's not about the pace of content, Flip, that will be the consideration mainly in this. It's more of just about keeping, I mean, artists know about keeping the composure and aesthetics of something, right? Like, keeping something cohesive. I mean, we don't have a CM anymore, Ludroth.
Must not be a good sign.
There's no longer a CM in the game. How am I on meds? Better. Let's go over to Mech Trench. Mech Trench is a good mid map. Three minutes. In a way, and might even say it, well, Larry, on that point, I will say they're not going, they're going cohesive within their silos, right? So like they do have their 3 factions, and within those 3 factions they're cohesive, but they're supposed to be very different, right? Like I don't have any problems with artistic direction really, right? Like within their silos, all of the factions are distinct and they keep cohesive within their actual silos. And naturally, I mean, like you can go into like, do they mesh together? The stock guns, no, yeah. Is it a straight man? Is it supposed to be? It's hard to say. This Friday, MTF. I've seen it get used, but I haven't used it yet. We're gonna be doing it this Friday. I have meds and ammo. Let's just go to Back Trench. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I'll do this Friday also, Ludroth. I mean, right, they kind of are doing that, right? And like, that's the area where you need to give the game some leeway. Like, for example, I don't have issues with the art or the units, really, in regards to their style. The guns, they are what they are, right? But it does kind of play into this anime feel of, like, you know, cyber settings with, you know, World War II guns and shit, but whatever. I'm not sure if we're going to see full stealth mechanics in Informatic. That usually requires a lot of work at a very ground level. Why? Why are you... Just one of those days, apparently. Did they sneak some change in? Like a hotfix or something? My god. There was a hotfix, I think, on Sunday, right? Or maybe, was it Sunday? They quite apparently are my fan. They absolute no chill. The funniest thing is actually, like, in comparison, can't fucking do English right now. In comparing the lethality of infantry to the medium mech, like, god, the infantry are actually much scarier now than medium mechs. Thanks, Nevius. No, yeah, like, yeah, there's... Yeah. I just... In a way, it feels like they're taking too much inspiration from Tarkov, Nevius. Like, I know Tarkov was incredibly novel at its time, but Tarkov did a ton of shit wrong. I mean, Evan, it wouldn't be the first time that they did remember, the grenades being in the game were not documented. So there's always the factor of don't necessarily always trust patch notes for what they include. Especially considering there's no longer a CM. Take 3. Or whatever take this is. Like, with a game, like a company like this, I would never trust their patch notes to be what they include in the patch notes is what they've intended to include in the patch. That doesn't always mean what exactly is in the patch.
I hate the surface.
Ray, it's a lot of different factors, right? It's the pathing, it's a lot of different things. It's like, it's map design, it's mechanics, it's alternate routes, it's just a lot of different things. Are we good? Can I not get murdered today? I would be surprised if we see prone. Whole new set of animations and rigging. Just a lot of extra work. I don't think we'll ever see Probe. Not in this game. But in regards, for those unfamiliar, Nevius's comment on Twitch was basically referring to, I made a post in feedback that kind of was critiquing Bunko's questline. A lot of Bunko's questline is like survive on X map or grab X thing and leave on X map. Essentially, it harkens back to the old Tarkov days. And it still exists in Tarkov too, right? Because Tarkov's solution was Tarkov. It was Nikita's solution, so it's Nikita's solution. It's gonna be ham-fisted. But essentially, right, when you have quests that say extract on X map or grab Y thing and leave, you're really reinforcing this gameplay pattern of just like spawn into a map and leave immediately, or spawn into a map, grab one thing and then leave immediately, right? Yeah, it waters down to a speed run essentially, right? And like it's even if you want to just like play the map slowly and vibe, like the game is not reinforcing you to do that. It is saying that if you want to, you know, be rewarded for this, you need to just go grab X thing and leave. And it's partially on the quests. I mean, it's on the maps too, right? At a certain level, like the maps aren't big enough to really like have multifaceted quests. You can, but like, you know, they would have to use all the real estate multiple times. And the Elephant Mausoleum one is a good example of like actually keeping you there. So for the Elephant Mausoleum quest, essentially, you need to go activate a lever there, and then you need to wait for a bit, and the drone will deliver a part to you. And that is a good kind of concept of like a baseline for the quests, right? In regards to do something that keeps you there for a bit, engaging the gameplay in the world and the setting, as opposed to just rewarding you for running through. Yeah, and Michael, you can only do that so many times in certain maps before it gets really old. Like, there's certainly a balance, right? You can't make an... It depends too. Like, you can do a fewer quests, but more like that. You can do like less quests, but more simple. But the going to as simple as survive on a map is definitely getting into this dangerous area where, like, you know, Tarkov relied upon that so much because it's really easy to code in, I'm guessing, really easy to implement, that it essentially ruined the gameplay of the game. Because the people who were doing quests, the people who wanted to just like progress through the game, weren't going to stay and engage, you know, PvP players for loot areas, right? They weren't there for like the high risk loot areas. They were there to just get their quest done and leave. And so 5-10 minutes into a raid of these hour-long raids, the map felt empty. And so Tarkov, being Tarkov and being, you know, the epitome of simple solutions to, you know, complex problems, was let's just punish players for leaving too early. And I mean, it works, right? Because you can't complete the quests unless you stay. Now, technically speaking, what will happen, right, is people will just sit in a bush for 10 minutes if they really don't want to run through. But it did technically keep people longer on the map. No, yeah, no, I can't. I mean, the pricing and the promise of this game, right, is why I'm into it. Like, the marketing material for this game is what sold me in the game in regards to, like, offline extraction shooter. Like, that's what sold me. The vibe did too, right, the aesthetics. But, like, the mission statement of having, like, an affordable offline extraction shooter was like, hey, that sounds cool and novel, like... That seems like a really smart idea in this current day and age. That's a little bit dangerous, isn't it, I guess? Hold on, let me see here. See you, Michael. Interesting. So, as long as you're aiming, I guess... That's not the best. All right. So what you saw me doing there, right, is I was trying to lean. Burnout, exactly right. That's like, I didn't go specifically that like that, but like offline, basically meaning you don't care about cheaters.
Whittle them down and we can.
Like 100% a big aspect, right? Was like, you know, PvE offline basically meaning is you're not going to have to deal with cheaters in the game. Or at least if they are cheaters in the game, you don't have to deal with them because you're not going to be laying online. But what you saw there, I was listening at, right? So I was essentially trying to like, so if I'm holding E right now, right? When I ADS, I already go ahead and lean. So I preemptively hit E to begin leaning before I ADS'd. So I could like basically pre-lean. Now, the problem with that is because the loot key is also E, I actually found myself trying to ADS, or like, essentially I began opening a bag when I was trying to ADS. Now, it is on me for doing this sequence of operations a bit weirdly, but I definitely think that is something to consider too. I don't think that'd be the only, I'd be the only one who would do that. Maybe though. Hey, Ego. I mean, Larry, yeah, there's always going to be a factor of like you can only do so much to not exploit. I'm not going to use a surplus shotgun. I'll use the R8, Nooks. I'm not going to use a surplus shotgun.
Hard run. At least we made it.
You can't use tab anymore. So you get to use your cursor. I would rather just not bring meds at all, Nooks. So what Nooks is describing is kind of like the example we raised in regards to Tarkov, right? Where the people's solution to the problem was just hiding on the map for 10 minutes. In regards to Nooks things, right? The Nooks' requirements have so much friction where unless I was trying to just like mess around with it, I would just use the R8. I wouldn't use the tobacco, I wouldn't use the food, I wouldn't use the shotgun, I would just bring an R8 and ammo. Because all of those other things sound awful. I had no problem using the R8 though, it's a good pistol. Very, very different from launch. Oh, I mean, oh, you mean the control button? Yeah, like, I know it exists, but I always repress Nevius, like, the memory of it. So there is a dodge in the game.
I hate the surface.
I'm not sure what you'd ever really, I mean, it does give you, it does move you very fast, right? Like, but at the same time, it's just, yeah. I maybe get you into cover quick. I just don't know. It's one of those things where it's just so off-putting. I would just never use it. The dodge. That is a critique of the silhouettes. A lot of it does have to do in regards to just like the darkness. So, oh fuck me, these are snipers. It's a common critique at you in regards to like the silhouettes of the enemies not being very distinct, so it's hard to tell. The colors do a good job, but so much, like, a lot of the time the colors are so drowned out far away. Like, for example, right here, we can just see kind of darkness. We can't see silhouettes, or we can't see color at all. It's hard to tell. Thankfully, I mean, hitting Z does it. MTF, they're not changed enough to, like, the concept is this: when they ever get to the point where I feel like they're done with guns, or we see an actual update to guns, I would consider it. From what we had before to what we have now, there is still too much that's bugged and work in progress and just not functional at all, that I just, a weapon tier list just wouldn't, it just doesn't feel right now. All a weapon tier list would get me to do is go into a descending rant about how I hate the guns in this game. Units, cool. The maps, the aesthetic, cool. The guns, throw out the window. Here's the thing. It's not that I'm opposed to, like, World War II or conventional guns. If they, like, I do not have a problem with Marauders as guns, right? Because, for those unfamiliar with Marauders, Marauders is a diesel punk sci-fi space game with World War II guns. You literally have spaceships using 30.7 centimeter flak guns. So, like, and conceptually, the guns, I don't have a problem with guns in the game because they match the aesthetic of the game overall. It's supposed to be this sci-fi sort of, like, World War II game. It's got a unique vibe to it in regards to its aesthetics. But, like, it doesn't try and do, it doesn't try to go over the top with its guns, right? It has functional guns that are grounded in the setting and work, and don't have customization. The guns are what they are. It's okay to have the guns play as straight man in the setting, but, like, I have no problem with the concept of modern guns. I have the problem with the level of polish they can have the guns have with all of the optics they have. I mean, hey, MTF, if they wanted started with a, if they removed all the guns in the game and started early with a few well-polished guns, I'd be okay with that. Well, Atu, it's not in the sense I don't want, like, advanced guns. It's more in the sense of, it all goes back to kind of the point I was making with Flip, hopefully, is that I will bash project managers all day, I will bash bureaucrats all day, but they exist because they're useful sometimes. Project planning, scope planning, requirements planning, it is important because people do, like, look at Star Citizen, right? Look at Chris Roberts. if you do not constrain yourself with the idea of scope and what is feasible for your project and what you can deliver in a certain time frame, menageries of endless features that never get complete and feel half-baked are the result of that, right? Like, look at Tarkov. Tarkov is like a great example of this, right? Like, Tarkov is fun, but do any of you feel like Tarkov is like a complete picture or feels complete? Or like, if you look at the like from a project standpoint, right? You look at Tarkov, it felt like this this haphazard menagerie of different ideas conglomerated together that, you know, for all intents and purposes kind of works, but also falls apart in so many areas because they just lacked the foresight to properly plan. Like 2 engine updates later, like figuring out like, God, just so much, man. And it was Streets too, having them like, Streets has been in development for like what, fucking 5 years? A single map? Same thing with Daisy too. Daisy's a great example of just like not knowing the bounds of your project before you started it. It's like vibe coding. Just, there's a lot of merit in figuring out what you're trying to do before you start. Because not knowing what you're trying to do before you start is like a very easy way of just never finishing. Oh, fucking Agile, dude. I mean, even with Agile, they still, like, on a very high level, very zoomed out level, do project plan, but no. Man, fucking daily stand-ups, goddamn. Here, let's have our 30-minute to an hour daily stand-up. That would probably just be better off in a text message. But, like, here's the thing, too, though. Like, at its core, what Agile is trying to accomplish is making sure everyone is on the same understanding as everyone else. Like, and the problem is it gets twisted, right? Like, the initial, like, the ideology behind Agile and Scrums is, like, it actually makes a lot of sense, right? But the problem is it gets twisted by time. Like, the core premise being in is, like, everyone should be appraised on a very high level of what everyone else is doing in a relative, like, area around you, right? So there's not overlap, right? Oh, and a little bit of everything. We're currently talking about project management requirements and Agile a little bit. Well, what they're trying to do, right, is they're trying to make a problem seem much more approachable by breaking it into chunks. So if they only expose to you a small segment of the project at a time, they're essentially, the ideology being that looking at 5% completion as opposed to 100% completion over, like, if a project's like 10 weeks, right? Let's say a project says 10 weeks, right? They're like, would we rather use, you know, do 100% over those 10 weeks or do 5%, or sorry, 10% 10 times? Yeah, why is HR pushing for that? I mean, HR sometimes, it's just, ego, it's fair. It's software development shit. It's, if you ever worked for, like, if you ever worked for a corporation, ego, it's essentially the same thing as just, like, corporate mandated, basically, BS. And the problem becomes basically too, right, is that, like, the people who are technically, the problem is like, when you get to these silos, right, where you have all of the business people on one side and all of the tech people on one side, if the business people are trying to apply Agile and the project management to the tech people without any like liaisons or like conversations, it gets out of whack. Also, let's go pet the dog. Essentially, when the business people have no concept of development and technology, they don't understand what they're asking for in certain amounts of times, and they can't really understand requirements at that point. There's a real good fucking YouTube video, right? Oh god, what's it called? Hold on. Sorry, tangent. I'm not gonna show it, but okay, yeah. So it's called The Experts, or Seven Red Lines. Go YouTube it. It's essentially like in a nutshell. So it's on YouTube. It's called The Expert, short comedy sketch. Yeah. Laura Spinnerts. Go watch it. It's like a very short, but like essentially everything we're describing here is kind of the issue in regards to like the business side and technical side. Yeah, it's a great video, and like if you've ever worked for a corporation in tech, it just hits home. If you worked on the technical side, it hits home. Well, NG changes, there's always that issue, right, in regards to when you're developing a game, you can only play it so much, right? And it's also naturally they're going to have buy-in to their own systems. When you come up with an idea for a game, right, or like say for example change, you give your feedback to them, and you recommend, like say for example you go to the feedback forum and you give them a system that you would want to see implemented, right? Naturally you're going to have a lot of buy-in with that system just because it's your own. No, it is the video we're referencing, by the way, The Experts. It's a very painful video to watch if you're ever familiar with like that side of the business. It's not cringe, it's just painful. And it's been around for a while. It's been around for a very long time, but it is still so very applicable. Let's LMG it up for a bit. M60? Sure, why not? Got plenty of beds now. I shouldn't go crazy though. We'll bring a few. You bring a drill too, just in case. See informatic. Drill. Just bring one. That should be fine. Oh yeah, it's a silencer and a 327. Yeah, an R8. Silencer and R8. Well, yeah, but like it's painful bosses, but like that's essentially the stand-in for like non-technical bosses, right? And there are good non-technical bosses who do understand like that tech's gonna know more than them, but there's also plenty of non-technical bosses who just can't appreciate that they don't know everything. And naturally, when you have a boss in a meeting like that with the client, naturally it's going to be this fine line of appeasing the client and also not promising too much. Leadership is a skill, and sometimes it's a skill you cannot, like, it's a skill you can train, but also, I mean, it's a skill you can train, but also it requires some innate ability too. I mean, I have had like good mid-level bosses before, but like for every good one I have 4 to 5 bad ones. That's another vibe too, right? like just like Office Space kind of vibe. Yeah, I have like 4 to 5 bosses. It's the best. It's one of the better guns in the game, doggo. And it's not even close.
That's it for us.
Spectre's amazing. Like it's like the de facto the best SMG. And in a way, like the Spectre to me is like how much customization a gun should have. And you're probably like, the Spectre doesn't have any customization. Except for like the silencer and a flashlight. Exactly. Do we need 500 different holographic sights in the game? There is... Being your own boss is nice. It is... I mean, it's solely on you if you know, if you pass or fail, right?
This is it. We decide what happens next.
It's your responsibility. It's all on you. You're your own boss. And I will say too, like, it works for some, but like, it doesn't work for other people too, right? Like, some people do need to have that exterior motivation. You want more item bloat, MTF? I can't say I share that opinion.
Everyone for themselves.
Leave me alone. We do need more things to scavenge, right? I do agree. When most of the loot pool is like ammo, meds, and weapon attachments, blood, yeah. There needs to be just more things to loot that's not like... Item bloat is fine when it's like just currency items, right? Or just... I don't mind like the item bloat in Tarkov in regards to all of its different like components to construct things. It's a lot. It's fine. I wouldn't want it in another game. It's a lot in that game, but it's fine. Because it's fairly grounded, right? But it's got a lot of weapon attachments. Yeah, there's so many of them, and you like they're not scarce, so you get endless amounts of them. Well, I want meaningful depth, right, Ego? Because all of the attachments kind of fulfill the same purpose, and they're just aesthetic vibes. They feel... I mean, in a way, the attachments do provide customization, and that's fun and all, but they don't provide any gameplay depth, right? There's not any nuance to them. Holographic Sight 1 is functionally the same as Holographic Sight 21. Foregrip A is the same as Foregrip C. Like, sure, you can make the case that stability minus 0.1 or plus 0.1. It's not that big of a difference to warrant all of the work that feels like including it, making sure it matches up, all that stuff, and just, yeah. And then having it be part of the loot pool too. Tarkov is like, it can be so misleading looking at Tarkov and just saying, why can't we do that? Tarkov has been doing that for 10 years. And if you look at the grand scope of what they've accomplished in 10 years, kind of not that much. Like, it's not like considering the complications you have in regards, like, you know, making a game like that in Russia, sure, like, I'm not besmirching their ability to make a game. It's more in the sense of, in the grand scheme of things, over 10 years, you have like what, 50, 60 guns, maybe probably about more, like 80, like 100 guns and a whole bunch of mods for them. And you've had that much time to make sure they're properly polished. Like, it's hard, MTF, or like, I like the concept of Tarkov. I like what it does. I hate how they implemented it. I mean, on a way, change, you have to keep in mind, they've been able to fund development for 10 years, right? Like, sure, they've probably burned their cash doing it too, but that's probably more mismanagement. But like, to keep a game studio active for 10 years, that's a pretty good accomplishment. That's like, especially, and also too, keep in mind, like, Nikita and all of them, Nikita, like, I will give Nikita the lush, he deserves it, but at the same time, Nikita did not have a lot of, like, intellectual resources in Russia to, like, make a game like that, right? It was a lot of just making as you go. Now, did they bite off more than they can chew? Absolutely. But, like, they did have success for a reason. Like, they created a genre, for fuck's sake.
I think they spotted us. That's it for us.
Yeah, Captain, it kind of goes to the issue, right? It's like kind of been the whole overarching theme of this talk so far in regards to making sure you have an idea on where the fuck your project ends. Because if you don't have that end in sight, naturally you're just gonna stray off the path. Like, you need something to point to as, like, an end state. Otherwise, you just go meandering. Yeah, and like, at least I will say, like, Star Citizen is like the poster boy. Chris Roberts is a poster boy of scope creep. But, like, keep in mind, like, they are the poster boys of this. They do make good games, though. Like, objectively, what Star Citizen does right now is really cool. Is it a complete experience? No. But is it, like, a really fulfilling one? Absolutely. I mean, if you want to frame it like that, Ego, sure. I mean, I would give Battlestate and Nikita the benefit of the doubt there and just say, like, you know, whether by... Like, I don't think it was intentional, Ego, but I definitely do think, like, they... It might have not been intentional, but, you know, whether by accident or by intention, they did tripped and fell and made the extraction shooter genre. And they made it popular too, right? Like, don't get me wrong, like, during the COVID days, right, a little bit earlier than that, like, Tarkov popped up for a very long time. And now, Tarkov did definitely suffer from its own success in regards to people quickly realizing that its foundation was ass, but that is what it is. And on that note, it's also important too why, like, having a limited scope for your first game is important. So you can use that as a stepping stone to, like, build into the future.
As long as I'm the last one standing.
Because, like, on Flip's point, right, like, these guys are probably 3 artists who maybe don't know, like, full stack game development, which is, yeah, like, it's perfectly fine. But it's all, knowing that, right, is making sure you keep yourself constrained by that, or, like, keeping that in reference, and then making sure you don't go crazy with your scope. It's important. Which one, Captain? Star Citizen or Tarkov? I definitely do think that Tarkov, like, Tarkov got like a lot of leeway considering their indie nature, and like people definitely understood. Nikita does do a good job of playing the victim too. But like Nikita and Tarkov got quite a few passes over time, right? But they just continually keep shooting themselves in the foot. For sure, and that's kind of like harkens back to the point, right, where I don't necessarily need a roadmap. I just want to kind of figure out what's the end state of their game, right? It can be vague, right? But like, what do they see the final look of their game looking like? At a very high level, right? What would you want your piece of software to do? What are your requirements? And like, and here's the thing too, if you sit down with yourself, right, and you can't answer the question of at what point would I be happy with the result, you got some real problems then, right? Sure, if it's a hobby, right, you can be okay with perpetually never being happy with the result or fine, like, being done. But on a project like this, you kind of eventually need to be like at a spot where, yeah, you're okay with the end result and you can move on now, or at least be 1.0'd. No, that's definitely, I have that exact feeling with so many EA games where I can definitely hype myself up on the hopium to keep playing, but like once it gets close to 1.0 and like the feature set is locked in, I can be like, all right, well, yeah, it was fun, but the hopium is now out. Ray, I do think now there's a few things here, Ray. It sucks because we're kind of the 4,000 and 5,000 series cards for Nvidia were not a giant uplift in regards to performance, but like this whole like 3 to 5 series Nvidia, and to some extent the 2000 series too, but not really because it was like kind of one of the first iterations of RTX, so it wasn't great. But like once we get to a certain point where everyone's caught, it's gonna take a while, right? Everyone's caught up to like this series of cards, and once we get to more budget-friendly cards that are like powerful enough, I think it's a good point. Like what I'm referencing here is Lumen, and for those unfamiliar, Lumen is essentially real-time lighting in Unreal Engine 5. And the problem being is, because we're at this weird cusp right now, where upgrading your GPU right now is just, and for a while, upgrading your GPU for a while has been kind of a bitch. There's a lot of people on older hardware who do not want to upgrade, understandably. However, once you get past that kind of that wall to like, say, the 3000 series cards and beyond, you can start actually like using, like, you don't get a downside for using Lumen, right? Essentially, right? For the older cards who can't use all of the power for Lumen, it's an issue. But once you get past that, it's perfectly fine. And so we're kind of at this weird wall right now where, because so many people are kind of behind this curve, not from their own volition, but just from the markets, they're kind of stuck, if you will. They're kind of stuck. And the reason why is because Lumen allows for games like this to be made. If they had to do baked lighting in a game like this, we might have half the maps that we have. The amount of time it takes to develop maps and content with old school lighting, it takes a lot longer. Well, you have to realize, Ego, like, Lumen is a much more, like, kind of full stack solution to lighting. To make the maps look good, it will require them to go back and do baked lighting on the maps, and that takes a lot of fucking time. Now, will it help people with performance? Absolutely. It's just a question of, like, do they have the time and resources to go back and bake all of their maps lighting in? And I would lean toward no. It's a much slower process to bake your lighting. Like, astronomically. To any good quality, that is. No, like, you and that's essentially the point I'm raising here, right, in regards to the GPU cutoff, is Lumen is a great solution. It's just that we're kind of in this, as we progress into the future and people play catch up, and, like, Lumen becomes more efficient, and GPUs naturally get better and better as time progresses. People have to upgrade eventually, and then hopefully, like, cheaper cards get a lot more powerful. Lumen will actually work a lot better. It gets a lot of flack right now because so many people are behind the curve, not from their own volition, naturally, that it feels bad now. But it will feel better in the future as Lumen gets better, and then naturally people play catch up. All right, where is Pyro? 100%. Like, any tool can be misused, Ray. 100%. Just like AI, like, all tools can be misused. Some tools can be misused easier than others. I mean, like, the feature set, like, I can tell you right now, Lumen by and of itself is a huge upgrade in that regard. All right, SVD. We have our ammo. This is fine. I don't know why I'm bringing this much ammo, but it is what it is. Oh, the Marathon Alpha is actually out? I mean, on a whole, I'm not too interested in Marathon. We've gone over Marathon before in chat, but, like, it just... I think the genre has fatigue, and I think Marathon is leaning into that fatigue at the exact wrong time. Like, was Bungie making Marathon the extraction shooter because it wanted to make an extraction shooter, or more because it was like, hey, let's make a new game. What genre should we make the game? Oh, hey, this is really popular now. Marathon kind of feels like a suit forced a game genre onto a development team. Like, at one level, I hope Bungie does well. Well, I don't know. I'm not even sure I want Bungie to do well anymore, considering Sony. Here's the problem, right? I naturally never want someone to lose their job. People who say, I hope you lose your job on the internet, are fucking assholes. For private citizens, by the way. And when you're a public official, it's a different story. When you're a private citizen
people saying you should lose your job is a different story, right? But like, unfortunately, money, like suits only speak money and failure, and like it just seems like they have to fail to learn from their mistakes. And I guess someone has to fail in the extraction shooter genre to realize that the boom of extraction shooters is over. Well, look at markets and fads, right? They look at like, oh, they see Tarkov's doing real well, like, you know, oh, Tarkov has this huge viewer base. Let's steal from some of them. Let's make a polished Tarkov and like, you know, do real well. Not realizing that people were kind of fatigued of Tarkov, right? And still only playing it because like they have some buy-in to it. Arc Raiders, I will say, Arc Raiders has a really cool vibe to it. I don't think I would get into it. I just can't see any extraction shooter nowadays that's PvP and be like, yeah, this is okay. Like, please, every suit, go look at the cycle. Go look at the cycle frontier. Now, was the Cycle Frontier's only problem, like, cheaters? No. But, like, a lot of it was cheaters. It's hard to be like... It's just... It's insane to think that, like, oh yeah, let's make an extraction shooter in this current day and age, and... with the cheating, god.
I think they spotted us. That's it for us.
Yeah, it's good. The problem is, Atsu, is I generally do not hold out hope for big companies like that innovating in the space. That's usually why I go to EA early access games, right? Is because they're much more willing to explore interesting gameplay space as opposed to full-fledged companies like Bungie. Well, I mean, Ray, it kind of seems at like a very early level, right? Like, naturally, Bungie has great artists. Bungie has, like, great, gameplay teams in regards to making gunplay feel fluid and good. But it's much more on a meta level, though, than that, right? It's why, for example, in this game, right, I think a zoomed out idea on where you want the game to be is very important. Because those individual parts do need to come together to a cohesive thing, right? Otherwise, it can feel kind of just disjointed or soulless. Like, I need to play a marathon myself to I probably won't, though, is a problem, because I just don't want to. But, like, I would not be surprised if Marathon's going to have a giant issue in regards to just feeling like an incomplete experience. Like, it's gonna have Bungie's classic of, like, having great gunplay and being very polished and smooth and cohesive in the visual aspect, but it's gonna have probably very, like, big issues in regards to, oh, hey, like, this is cool, I've played it once, I've now played it every time because it's an extraction shooter. Why, 7 they already said they won't. They might have to, but like, they said all they've needed to say Y7 in regards to this, right? They do not want to force a wipe on you, but they might have to in the future for systems. So that's essentially says all they need to say on it, right? In the sense of, they're not going to wipe arbitrarily, but they might have to wipe in the future. For sure, actually, yeah, I definitely feel like that's going to be the case, right? It's going to feel like someone was trying to basically capitalize on the extraction shooter space. I mean, to test progression, yeah, like they're going to need to wipe. I do think it's always going to be better if you just offer the players the option to wipe. They mentioned that too, right? They want to, like, if they're going to wipe the game, they're going to try to do their best to make sure they make it as frictionless as possible. They don't want to have people feel like afraid of losing their content. Because some people do enjoy, like, getting ahead here, right? And then stocking up. Now, is that foolhardy? Sure, but people enjoy it. I mean, on that point, Ray, like, Destiny 2 did a great job having a game that had a good story or narrative, but not making it front and center, right? I think a lot of games can, like, Destiny 2, I almost want to say is the Destiny series is almost a masterclass in having a game's story be very present, but not front and center. And it was a great kind of thing too, where you both felt like the protagonist and were also not the protagonist too, right? Like Destiny and Destiny 2 is just like a master, like it's what Bungie does great, right? Bungie does a great job in regards to having a story overarching for your game, but not making it front and center where the game is solely reliant upon that story. For example, you could play Halo and not give a shit about Halo's story, but still appreciate the level design, like the fights, the gunplay. You could not care about the Covenant, the overall story, the Flood, so on and so forth, but like, because they exist and they're done well, if you do appreciate them, you can appreciate them, but you don't have to care about them, at least not to a high level. In contrast, Baldur's Gate, it's excellent, don't get me wrong, I love Baldur's Gate, but it does require you to kind of buy in, I think, a lot more to the actual story and narrative it's presenting you. And naturally it should, right? It's that type of game, it's a CRPG, it's supposed to kind of drive you into those, like, role-playing aspects. But I do agree, like, I remember some people saying too, like, Marathon doesn't actually have a full story yet either, it's just like, the meat and flesh of Marathon's now being like developed right now at the very end of the game cycle. Like they were first worried about making a cohesive game first, and then they're adding in the story afterward. And partially right, because they didn't take that into consideration when they're making the game. It might feel like it feels forced or flat, right? Yeah, like Destiny 2 has problems, right? But Destiny 2's problems were mainly because of how they decided to monetize it, right? Destiny 2 was a victim of, like, you know, always being concerned about retention. And they thought their best ways of maintaining retention was, like, through FOMO. Trust me, like, that's why I stopped playing Destiny 2, is because, like, it was a game where if you didn't constantly play it, if you did not get the content done in the cycle they provided to you, a lot of it goes away. Like, essentially, the big point where I stopped playing Destiny 2 was, like, I wanted to get a gun that was really cool and, like, a unique build, but I couldn't get it because it was basically time gated at that point. It was gone. It was only around for a certain cycle. Well, I mean, that's also the risk to change, right? Like I think he said also, the CEO or the main person in charge of Larian was like, if this game failed, we would have gone bankrupt immediately. This isn't really referencing the content vault, though. We're not going to get into the content vault situation. Like, it's a good tangent, but also it's not relevant, I think, to the overall theme here of just, you know, FOMO forcing me out of Destiny. Could it be the reason why you left Destiny? Absolutely. But it wasn't the core reason why I left. Yeah, like you could, like, separate point. It's a tangent for sure. It's not conducive to the overall, like, picture I'm painting right now, though. Like, it's its own rabbit hole. It's a very deep rabbit hole.
Not quite the best.
And it gets into different issues, right? It more harkens back to project management in regards to, like, requirements and so on and so forth, as opposed to Destiny's and business practices when the game came out in regards to retention. Like, one happened because of technical requirements. One happened because they've thought that pursuing FOMO as a game mechanic or as a business mechanic would drive retention and increase their basically their income. And, like, naturally, we can say it's for profit, but keep in mind, for the vast majority of Destiny 1 and 2, they were a private company, and while capitalism in and of itself drives profit as the main motivator, at a certain point too, it is about keeping the doors open. They just can't sell stock to get free money. They have to actually have the money on hand or get private equity to give them money. Right, I think that's fairly true, right? Like, there is that factor where, like, suits do not want to try. Why are you in the box? Why are you in there? Why are you in the suitcases? Why are they? Secret tech of being inside suitcases. Understood. The secret suitcase tech. I was out of meds for a while. I didn't bring that many. We got stuck into combat a few times there, so we were pretty low the entire time. Also, I mean, the guy was in a suitcase stack. Come on. Yeah, they're using guerrilla warfare now. They're hiding in suitcases. Do I have you on, like... That works. Well, that's also just getting into more, like, late-stage capitalism, I'd say, in regards to, well, it's when you reward short-term profit, it now becomes the chase to just, like, when a business major has to go justify their paycheck and their job and how they're transforming the business, what's an easier way to do that than just gassing short-term profits at the expense of long-term? You don't care about what happens 5 years down the line. You won't be here anymore. You've moved on to a bigger paying job. All you need to do is show in that 2 years you've juiced profit by 30%. I mean, you can point out individual companies, but it is just literally every company in capitalism. Once you are like long enough in the setting, right? You get twisted and maligned, right? Like at the very early stages, it's not malicious. It just over time it becomes malicious because its own incentive structure, right? And at a certain point, though, I do think.
Don't get boxed in. Spread out.
It's just all profit chasing. It's just greed. I mean, on a way though, like you can, it might be on the PM to do that, but the PM shouldn't be overall concerned about the profitability of the project itself. That's more on the business folks, right? The PM's more supposed to be like, get this project to market on time, as opposed to is this project gonna be profitable or not? That's on the business itself. Well, like, that is why, if Bungie was still a private company, I would support Marathon just for that factor. Because, like, private companies are how you, like, you can, like, keep a company like Valve safe, right? The second Valve ever gets to the point where, like, if Valve ever went public, right, it would change Steam forever, right? Because they no longer care about, like, they care about juicing profits at that point, right? Ah, yes, KPI. We needed to derive a very complex scenario into one figure, where we can remove all nuance. KPIs are literally just a way of, like, managers of being like, number go up, me feel happy. Number go down, me feel sad. And ignoring any context. We good? All right, we're good. I mean, but in a way, like, it is Ray them shooting for the moon constantly. It's like, if you present a company the chance of like, they might just be doing the odds too, right? But like, do we have a 20% chance of making $10 million or like an 80% chance of making it like $1 million, right? They always go for the higher number. And naturally, they don't know the actual numbers, right? But just in a way that's basically them fad chasing, as they're just trying to go for that big audience. Going over to like movies, right? I mean, it literally created a niche for A24. See a Delta. Like it left it so open to like exploitation that A24 was able to come in and actually find a way of becoming a producer and a movie maker in this current day and age where it thought impossible, right? And it didn't happen all at once, right? It took baby steps. You just can't go from 0 to 100 real quick. It's baby steps. I'm pretty sure that's just constant Atu. At least that's how I felt with us. Like, me and my coworker, my primary coworker, would just constantly talk to each other about, like, this feels like just bullshit, right? It's like, yeah, but we're being paid to do it, so it is what it is. Especially when you get, like, really stupid fucking requests here and there. Yeah, exactly. When payroll comes and you get your nice fucking tech paycheck, you're like, alright, yeah, whatever. I mean, I have said no before. Like, it depends too. I will say, you do have to be very careful. I've only drawn the line in the sand once, but because I've only drawn the line in the sand once with them, they acquiesced. Me using it only like once in 5 years made them okay with it. There are a lot of bullshit jobs, and the problem is like bullshit jobs arise when like, essentially think of it this way, right? Say for example, right? Let's use company, let's just say Google, for example. This is not gonna be how Google operates. This is just using Google for a name. It's just a name. Ignore everything about this, right? Just using Google for a name. Say, for example, this person at Google had a fairly technical job, but like over time became much more of a subject matter expert as opposed to a developer, right? So now, say for example, if you're working like a construction job, right? Over time you work the basics, you know, you put drywall on, you do and so forth, and over time you get better at your job where a lot of your job is more based upon the knowledge you know as opposed to you using that knowledge directly. In a way, you go from being much more of a developer to a supporter or like a logistical person or a manager, right? Even if you're not a manager in name, you become an expert and more of a facilitator for new people as opposed to a developer, right? That's kind of how it works, the senior developer, so on and so forth, but just to give you some extra context. And it works for other fields too, right? Like foremen with construction, so on and so forth. As you get older, you get more experienced. You usually... Consultants, yes. Consultants are that kind of like that in a perverse way, right? Consultants kind of turn that into the epitome of profit. But going back to that concept, right? Say, for example, you have that person in Google who is now much more of an expert kind of telling people how things work as opposed to being a developer, right? And so they're a developer in a name, but they're not really a developer anymore in role. And say, for example, they retire or they leave, they go on and do something else. And say Google tries to fill that spot with someone else. And they do, but... And then that person is told the responsibilities of this person they're replacing, but they don't have all of that knowledge of the systems, right? They don't have all of that, like, all that prior knowledge. And so that's kind of how those, like, blank suit or those kind of empty jobs in white collar work. that's one way it can happen, right? In regards to, you have a SME, a subject matter expert, leave, and they try and fill that void with someone else, but it's really about the process of getting to that point is where all the expertise comes from. I mean, there's nepotism everywhere, though, Larry. You can't just say tech has nepotism, because it exists everywhere forever. It's always been the case in humanity. Like, that's just what humans do. Nepotism is referring to Nepo in regards to a Roman emperor, which was 2,000 years ago. It's human nature. The turtle. It's everywhere. It's everywhere in every job. It turns out when you have a kid, you want your kid to do well. And so it becomes a case of rules for thee, not for me. It's easy to say nepotism's a bad thing until you have your own kid and you want your kid to do well. And there's always going to be lines in the sand, right? Yeah, it's just a thing that happens, right? So it's not, and to a degree, there is malicious nepotism, but there's also like just, you know, that extra little nudge in the back of your head, right? Giving them that little extra edge over the edge. It's just human nature. I feel like we need to redeem ourselves in Elephant Mausoleum. We got quite a few rounds of bad luck there, and I feel like I need to be redeemed. Which environment do we have? Actually, let's go full bore here. And like, you can say nepotism too, but keep in mind, networking exists for a reason too, right? Like, sure, it's not nepotism because it's not related, but like, there is a reason why networking is a huge thing. Knowing people is a huge thing. And this is coming from someone, I abhor networking. I hate it so fucking much. But like, it exists for a reason, right? All right. Time to be redeemed. All of the meds. All of the meds. Yeah, exactly that too. Middle managers networking all the time. Middle managers' main job is talking to people, right? So part of their job is just talking and networking. You, Mr. Man, go develop stuff. Don't talk to anyone for 8 hours. I, meanwhile, gonna be talking to people in meetings all day.
You know the drill. Stick together and stay alive.
I don't know how true this is, but when I watched a video recently on regards to 4chan's hack, and the guy was basically saying that, like, to get into like IT, you basically need to be either a furry or like know a bunch of furries. I don't know enough. I didn't work in that part of IT. Like, the main networking experience for them is furry conventions. Yeah, I was watching, like, he was going over, like, the back end of 4chan and talking about how basically it was like, it's from 2012. It was just begging to get hacked. The fact that it didn't get hacked earlier was actually a surprise. Well, Ludroth, there is this convention, right, that a lot of people, a lot of furries work in IT, and if you work in IT, you have a lot of bucking money. Remember, like, if you're working for, like, Google, like, you are starting in the 6 figures. And they become, and it's like basically the trope is, right, is they send that money to artists, the broke artists who are willing to, you know, make furry art for money. Essentially, IT people are patrons of the arts. All right. Hi, dog. Bye, dog.
Same as it ever was.
I mean, art is art if you don't like it or not. Sometimes part of art is you not liking the art. It's an Eye of Beholder? Baldur's Gate, what? Alright, can I hit this shot? Come on, a little bit lower. There we go. Now, I didn't bring attack ham this time, but it'll work. See, that's the thing, too. The consistency with the HKs is so weird, right? Oh, do I have them right now? Okay, I do have them now, okay. I forgot to bring attack cam, so I can't see where the crates are. Usually, I think it's like 3 crates that usually spawn off these. That's 2 parts so far off these. I just killed you a second ago. This is what I mean. No cooldown. I mean, that's why I killed it in here, though. It can clip through the wall sometimes. If they are too close to the ceiling, they will just go into the wall.
Brought enough ammo to travel. Rats.
I mean, I killed an Exo. That's usually on par, Fuji.
Not sure where.
Oh my god. I just killed you. I mean, they kind of allude to Wrong Guy in regards to just they're in the game for right now, but they're gonna have future uses. I'm guessing there's gonna be like a lore book, I guess, and they're gonna unlock a lore page in the lore book. But for right now, they're just for selling. So one shot with a grenade launcher knocked off its main gun. Let me switch guns. Let me switch guns, Gabe.
Bring the rain. Not sure where.
Yeah, it's dead. Here was this damn crate. Might be up here. Actually, it's up top. It's very inconvenient for you to be there. See that too. Rat King dies all the time. Rat King's favorite action is dying. How does it make you feel, Blood Panda, that they made 4 unkillable units and left Rat King out of that? How does it feel that your deity is killable? I feel like the mech shouldn't probably be despawned, to be honest. Like, they should probably be persistent terrain, but I don't know. It actually feels weird, like the fire should go out before the actual... Very good. Give me Codex. We're rich. I just killed you. Go away and leave me alone. I think that has to do with that they have exposure on. Or what's it called? There's some setting in Unreal Engine that basically makes it like compensate when you go into a bright spot and so on and so forth. It's some setting they can probably turn off if they wanted to. That would be crazy if they do that. But like, if they just manage to find a way of like going from mech corpse to more static proppy, it'd be really nice. I love going into an Exo Iris and just like being blind for a minute afterward.
I'm gonna sleep
Worth it.
for a week. Wake me
All right,
when
we
it's
redeemed ourselves after like getting absolutely shreked for like 5 runs earlier. All it took was more meds. And like, here's the thing, keep in mind, when we did that, right, the main threat during that entire run was the infantry and the hunter killers, never the medium mech. The medium mech was the easy part. It was dealing with everything else around the medium mech that was the hard part. Alright, why, Blood, why don't you want mechs to fly? Yeah, but it more has to do with, like, mechs weapons just being just arbitrarily bad. Like, mechs are currently set up to be ambiance pieces, not actual pieces on the board that affect anything. They're there for ambiance right now, but if they're gonna be worth a lot of money, they feel like they should probably actually be deadly. Let's do an Alpha Threat Cemetery. This is always a fun map to do. I don't need 4 Grip 0, Gabe.
Alright, where are you, Rust in Peace? Nexus is nice though, because like Nexus, you know what you're getting when you enter the map too, right? And Nexus feels good because there's like, it's a very aggressive map, but like the units are way fairer, right? Because there's no HKs. Yeah, Scrapyard is tame because you never have to worry about like getting just punked by a randomly spawning unit behind you that aggroes everyone. Alright, I don't have a lot of meds for this, which is probably not great, but it is what it is. We'll make do. We will make do. I want the worst spawn though. Oh, I can't sell to Yureska either. See you, Ray. Guess we're going this route. I can't guarantee this. It does feel like they up the chance rate of night shifts. I definitely feel like we get a lot more night shifts now. There might be a
Stay there.
like bad luck prevention now, perhaps, in regards to just not rolling night shifts. I don't know. It definitely seems like there's something in the works now to keep them like actually possible.
Shred them fast so we can move on.
See you, Duffs. Have a good flight. What the dog doing? Yeah, I strongly dislike long flights.
Something's kicking out.
I wonder why it doesn't kill the scramblers in one shot. That slam should kill them. Gotta be careful too, it might one-shot me from height. Yeah, Iris, it creates a nice contrast. It can always be worse. By the way, this is why Alpha Threat is kind of hard down here.
Keep track of those.
If you don't have Rust in Peace, imagine yourself being in the place of the XO with Alpha Threat.
Don't. Roll.
God, just these fucking scramblers, man. If you take Rust in Peace, yeah. This will only spawn here with the quest Rust in Peace. Good night, sweet prince.
Shred them fast so we can move on.
I think I need to play this patch with a HUD on for a bit. It feels like we're taking a lot more damage than normal, and like in contrast to like Monday. I had advanced, was it, oh, did it, maybe I had my smalls on by accident? I did bring smalls with me, but I should default to. Well, here's the thing though, Ludroth, right? It feels like we're taking a lot more damage than we normally do take. And I'm curious if something changed. And like, they did a few hotfixes. And once again, they will sometimes sneak stuff in. It definitely felt like we were, hold on, we're gonna play with HUD for this very last run. Now naturally I'm fucked on meds again, aren't I? Nope, okay, we're good. I mean, technically speaking, every major patch they've kind of upped lethality a bit, but either I'm having just a very bad day today, or like, lethality's been upped a bit. Hold on, let me look at the patch notes real quick. Naturally, they don't post these on Discord anymore. Yeah, these are the ones they posted. Yeah, nothing related in regards to murdering people. All right, let's go full out again, because we were using a Vepper, right? So we were aggroing everything, so let's make sure we go loud for counterpart. Or for comparison's sake. Actually, let's just go Scar, fuck this. Let's go Scar. Good old 50 cal. And we want to take fights too. I want to see how much damage we're taking. I don't bother with offhands usually, Ludroth. We're not killing X's this run. People think the surplus shotgun being my offhand means I'm using the surplus shotgun. No, it just means I don't care about my offhand.
It always looks the same.
I mean, it might also just be intentional too, doggo. Who knows? Oh god, the bagman bug. Yeah, oh no, that's... We're getting headshot. That's what it is. The sustained damage is not what's killing us. We're getting arbitrarily headshot here and there. Like, that's gotta be it, right? Like, when we're fighting, we are taking like a massive like 1.1k like around hit occasionally, right? That's what's killing us. So like, it's us either getting head in the head, or like when we get staggered, we take an extra point of damage. The change, that was not sustained DPS, that was a burst. There was a single shot in there that did like a ton of damage to us. Oh, let's do it again. There is something going on with headshots. No, we would have saw the explosion, Blood Panda. There was no explosion. You can tell really easily when you die to a grenade launcher to the face. And I noticed this before too in other patches, but it hasn't been as prevalent as this. It's been popping up a lot recently. Let's go. We're not gonna bring breads because we just want to see how quickly we die. This is fine. I'm thinking it might. I think we're getting burst. I think that we're taking a headshot. And naturally, yeah, we wouldn't catch that otherwise, right? There's no indication outside of being staggered of that damage coming through.
Got a ton of work before we sleep.
I mean, you can go back and watch the VOD. I'll watch the VOD too. I don't think it was a grenade launcher. Well, no, I don't think, that's not accuracy. That's just a headshot. If it was accuracy, it'd just be sustained damage. That's an actual, So let's fight these guys here. Yeah, the grenade launcher has a pretty distinct look to it. It definitely feels like damage is higher now, too. There's something funky going on with headshots, and there's also something going on with sustained DPS. Are these just RPKs, or... Yeah, RPKs. No, that was some pretty chunky sustained damage, too. They've definitely... Either we didn't notice it when they first did the April patch, or it's been increased a bit. It might have been the April patch, we just didn't notice it yet. Hey, Captain. Z, doggo. So, hit Z when you're overlooking enemy, and that's the hotkey for basically telling you their name. It definitely feels like there's something going on with regards to with damage. Either it got up to, and there was that one burst. I don't think it was a grenade launcher. And I don't mind bullets doing a lot of damage, but there needs to be, I think, some inaccuracy with the AI, along with going from some innate inaccuracy, and the longer they fight you, the more honed in they get, right? So, maybe... So, as opposed to us, where we start really close in and go wide. So when we start firing with our guns, right, we start from a small hole and go wider. It feels like it should be almost the opposite, right? A little bit of accuracy at the beginning, and then they get more accurate if they keep fighting you, or at least the longer you're out in the open, the more accurate they are, right? Yeah, I will say we were in cover there, changed a little bit. We weren't in great cover considering we're bagmen, but still, we were even in front of two guys, we were taking a lot of damage. It feels definitely quite a bit higher right now. It feels higher from a week ago too. Well, Ludro, we're making the case, right, where they would get to their accuracy. I mean, in CQB, so Blood, it's less about the accuracy, it's more about their target acquisition so quickly, right? It's less about them like shooting their guns in a straight line, but more about them managing to turn on the dime and perfectly have you and shoot you in like before your reaction time, right? Essentially, when they go from the exclamation point state to the aggro state, their ability to turn on a dime, acquire you as a target, and start immediately providing accurate fire is a little bit strong. Not really, Doggo, just selling. Considering water's a lot more better now, you're better off with just like farming water as opposed to farming weapons. Yeah, it's less about like, I'm okay with the accuracy, it's more about their ability to like acquire you as a target once they aggro, essentially. There's been a lot of scenarios right now, Blood, where like they'll be looking one way, they'll go from exclamation point to aggro, they'll turn around and like start lighting you the fuck up with accurate fire after doing a 180-degree turn. So maybe just some value in regards to, maybe if you have like some accuracy setting to them, perhaps, or like maybe some delay, that when they turn, they add to that delay, and as they like stop turning, they basically goes down. Basically, some value to basically keep into mind that like how aggressively they turn might add up to their, like, essentially affect their ability to start shooting immediately. HUD is on just for, so Toth, yeah, we just turned HUD on for the last run here because we were experimenting with something. The entire thing's been like HUD off, but we turned HUD on because essentially damage feels a lot higher right now, and we needed to actually see the damage value to see it. So you're right, HUD is on. I apologize, it was just the last run that we were doing it on with. Essentially, I'm not sure if it was in the April patch or just in one of their hotfixes. Enemies be smacking right now. Yeah, Black Sheep, I wouldn't say that much military hardware though. Like maybe I wouldn't, and naturally you can fine tune it for sure, Black Sheep, right? In regards to like having higher tier infantry have less delay or different stats, but like the cannon fodder Europa infantry seems pretty insane in regards to their ability to turn on a dime and start lighting you the fuck up.
Great job, crew. Get some sleep.
Mellow. But like, you know, it seems, I've noticed headshots before, they seem pretty random. I'll have to look at the VOD later and see if it was a grenade launcher or actual headshot. It felt like a headshot though, not a grenade launcher in Cemetery. But at least the Uruska infantry, I mean, to be honest, both seem to be doing a lot of damage with their RPKs now. Yeah, honest, in a way, I feel like we got crit. Like, there was that high sustained damage of like 300, 400, 500, 600 a second. And then like inside of that actual spiel itself too, there was a segment where we took like 1 to 2k or like 1.2k around there. Like it was insane. Okay, that's it for everyone. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna go watch the VOD, I think, and see that Underground Cemetery and see if it was a headshot or not, or a grenade launcher. It might have been grenade launcher too. I can't honestly say. But it definitely feels like damage got jumped up there a bit. And it might explain, it felt just really earlier today that well, naturally I was playing very aggressive earlier today. It did feel like we were taking a lot more damage too, so I'm curious about that. Let me know what you guys see too in the future. I'm curious if they snuck something into the hotfix. Anyway, take it easy guys. I will see you guys on Friday. We are doing a community stream on Friday too. If you have railgun parts, if you want to use a railgun, pop on in. We'll be hopefully making a few of those runs today or on Friday. And yeah, bye all.